right, everyone. Good evening, good morning. Hey, Andre, how are you?
Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing really, really great. I have my tasty coffee here and we're ready to get started. So, thanks you, everyone, for joining to today's discussion on how to enable data innovation with the data security platform. My name is Yoav Cohen. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Satori. What we do in Satori is we're a data security platform that enables self-service data and analytics. And with me today, I have Andre Edelman. He's the director of product security at Gong. Hey, Andre, thank you for taking the time today to speak with us. Um, maybe you'd like to give an intro about yourself and tell us what Gong is all about.
Sure. So first of all, let's start from a quick introduction. As you have already mentioned, I'm the director of product security at Gong. I'm more than 10 years in the AppSec area. In many places, I already have an opportunity to deal with the data security, with the data protection, and with all other certifications such as GRC and GDPR. And my favorite hobby is the photography, as you can see also the photos on the home MI. And you've able to connect with me through the LinkedIn. You have the QR code. Don't worry, it's not a malicious one, it's the regular one. And what we're basically doing in the Gong? So the Gong basically coming to help to the salesperson in order to improve the sales capabilities. And we're basically helping to the customers to answer why or how they can increase or unlock their reality by using the Gong, how they better utilize the salespersons. In order to do it, we're collecting a lot of information by using our AI. So basically, we're collecting the SMS conversation, phone conversation, emails, video calls, for example, even this call, and CRM system, and many other pieces of the data. So assume how sensitive the data it is, analyzing by using our AI, and as a result, we can say, for example, who is your team, how you basically increase your market, what is going to be the chance of success rate to close a specific deal, or even how to improve it, how to coach one salesperson by having calls of the another salesperson. For example, have one salesperson who is selling who have a deal of $100 and then another who have a $1 million. How you basically achieving or coaching your team to be there, how you improving your sales culture inside your company. So this is basically what going to do. Again, it's very high level, but in the general, this is what we do.
Awesome. Really great introduction. Thanks, Andre. Uh, Full disclosure, we're using Gong. I love Gong. I know my data is secure on Gong, which is obviously a big plus. So, Andre, a lot of what you're doing is around your ability to collect, store, process, analyze a lot of data, vast amounts of data. And when I think about it, a lot of this data can be considered by your customers as confidential or sensitive. People talk about prices, about new products, and so on. So I'm sure your customers need all sorts of assurances from you on how you protect that data. How do you ensure their data is secure? Can you tell us a little bit about what types of questions your customers ask, or what type of, I don't know, certifications they ask for?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, on top of the regular certifications such as ISO, SOC 2 Type 2, different kind of, by the way, the ISO, GDPR compliance, and many things, they really care about the data. And what I mean that they asking questions like, how many data sources you have, where you're storing your data, who have access to your data, or how you basically classifying if the data is sensitive or not sensitive. Maybe in some places, something that can be sensitive for you can be less sensitive for me, or the opposite options. And how we're basically dealing with all this data. And in the modern era like Gen AI, many people care what you're basically doing, how you're processing the data, or what the flows that you have. So they're asking very complicated from one hand, but very important question from the other hand, because as we saw before, they're sharing with us the most sensitive data that they have inside the organization. we have integration with their CRM, we have the integration with their email, calendar events, Zoom. It's basically super sensitive. And we really need to have a good answer and to also have a good protection system in order to ensure that as you as the customer going to be feel safe when you're giving your most sensitive things to the another part. So it's basically like kind of you're giving us your baby and saying, keep it safe.
Well, I'll give you my baby, but only between 2 and 4 a.m. when she's crying. Anyway, that's really interesting. And before, learning about Satori and before implementing Satori, what did you have to do? How did you, adhere to all of these requirements and controls?
So basically here, we before we started to discuss about the controls, we basically start to discuss what is our goals, what is our main motivations to implement it. And so back in the days before we started before we had even the Satori, we have a lot of manual job in order to ensure that we're keeping the customer data secure. So it was very tough and long process from our end in order to maintain it, and it's also not scalable. This is why we decided at some point that we need to define a very clear goals, how would like to maintain it, and you can see it currently on your screen. It's basically, we need to first of all to discover all our main data sources to ensure that we don't have some shadow processes. We need to have the audit logs in all the places and be sure that nothing is not audited. We have the full visibility. The big brother is watching us. And keep the velocity of the R&D was basically the key for us, because without having the data, we're not able to provide the value to our customers. Compliance, it's pretty straightforward, and basically to enable new deals, because security become nowadays, it's not only how we basically keeping the data secure, but also how we enable the deals be closed. Because if you don't have the appreciated level of the security or security controls in your organization, you can have the great product in the world, but no one will give you their data. So this is basically inside it. And on top of that, we also defined the process of how we're basically going to deal with it. So this is the kind of the POC stage and how we implemented the Satori.
Awesome. So let's dive into this. Maybe you can tell us, how you got started with Satori, how the process looked like, and how eventually Satori helped you enforce all of these controls and reach your goals.
Sure. So first of all, I already heard about the Satori even before Gong. We even have an opportunity to meet in the past and discuss and evaluate the process. And when I joined to Gong and I faced the situation, and basically realized that, I remember great guys who have a very great idea. So maybe it's the good opportunity to perform some kind of POC with them. So this is basically how we did. We started with the POC. And by the way, we started with very baby steps. We said, okay, let's take one data source with one specific team, and let's see if it's going to be the story of success. If it will, we will going to expand it to the whole our systems. And it was a success story. We basically succeeded to POC very well. Our developers was very happy from several points. First of all, they got the visibility of all the data sources that they have inside the Gong. Instead of asking the question, what is the kind of different databases we have? Or what is the process for the approval? Everything became very straightforward for them in one platform. And then another step that we did, we basically run the Satori of all the teams inside the Gong, including the R&D, BI, analytics, and many, many others. So we applied to all our data sources. And we started with very simple audit mode, meaning that we starting to monitoring, and we start to see how basically people interacting with our data sources, what basically they're doing, how they're doing, what is their day-to-day. in order, first of all, to enable the monitoring in order to perform much more secure steps in the future and apply the access control. We also connect all this data to our SIEM. We created a flow that allows us to collect the logs from the Satori via the Kinesis stream inside the AWS and stream all of them inside our SIEM system. And we also got visibility. We're able to connect all the pieces and realize the full picture to create the whole story, what exactly the user is doing since he logged into the system and until he got the reply from the database. We also performed the data classification by using the Satori, by using the out-of-the-box mechanism. If nowadays a customer asking us, where are you keeping all customers' email? So by single search inside the Satori dashboard, we're able to answer to them to this specific question. And in the end, we started to enforce the approval process, meaning that anyone who need the access to the data need to justify it, need to pass through the approval process that we defined together, and the Satori have a very great mechanism to do it, and to allow them to access to only specific data that they need, also to apply masking policy where it's needed, also to apply the restrictions, also to manage the sessions, and also to have just-in-time access control. So this is basically how we did it inside the Gong. And the success around it was basically around that. First of all, we have a great support from Satori. And the another thing, it's also answer to many of our requirements. So it's basically like kind of good fit. From one hand, we look something that's not a super heavy tool that you need months of the implementation and the approvals and the heavy processes. Something that's very light from one hand and giving you huge amount of value in a few single steps. And by the way, in my opinion, one of the key success usually I saw after other products in my past, there was some kind of, you need a different IDE, you need some kind of sandboxes, you need jump boxes. Satori provide basically the same process as developer regular to work. We just change the URL for them and ta-da, everything becomes straightforward again. So this is basically how we did it.
That's super cool. And I remember being involved in this project, how great it was to work with the greater Gong team, the engineering team, the DevOps team, the analytics team, to get everyone on the system. One of the key points in that process, I recall, was the decision to actually take that fifth step and move folks from just being their access just being audited by Satori, providing visibility, data classification, and so on, to also controlling access. And when you think about this is a critical point in that journey, because if before doing that change, people would largely, as you said, work the same way they worked before. Now, after this change, their process may change a little bit. Sometimes, this can slow people down. This can upset folks that need to go through and understand a different process. I'd really love to spend some time on this point, and if you can tell us how that transition looked like from your side, and what drove you to take that decision that controlling access would eventually be such a great thing for your teams.
So basically, we started from the building the pyramid from the base. First of all, we needed to achieve we needed to achieve the point where developers have the same smoothly process as they have nowadays. So each change need to be minor for them in order to create the major change. If you will start at the beginning with, okay, we put all the controls since day one over all the data sources inside the company, it's create frustration. It's create antagonism against the tool. It's create antagonism against the security. When you perform it by little steps, it's basically helping to improve the trust inside the tool. So each step, it's like you're changing it a bit. And you see the reaction, you're collecting the feedback. Okay, so these parts work well, these parts we need to improve, maybe these parts we need to drop. Great. Then we're adding more, see how it's happening, how basically it's changing, what the process, learning from it, improving it. And when we basically achieve that we able to apply the access control, it basically was a game changer for us because we didn't heard so many complaints or complaints at all. A few people, people usually complain about everything, but the amount of the complaints was very small. Like, oh, it's so minor change that I'm accepting it by design. And we also got from the Gong leadership huge support that I never saw in my previous companies because they really caring and understanding the security level and the sensitivity of the data, that they're really understanding why it's important. Because usually I have two flows in my past. First of all, I need to engage the management and then to engage the R&D, analytics, and other team. Here, I didn't need to engage them at all. The leadership was with me. We so improved the developer experience by using the Satori that for them, okay, it's so minor change. We're accepting it. It's good for us.
That's such an important point, because usually when people think about security related products, they think about controls, they think about restrictions, they think about, oh, this is going to slow me down, it's not going to allow me to do this or that. And one of the key things for us here at Satori is we understand that, yeah, we have to deliver the security value for sure, but you have to layer the operational value on top of that. Otherwise, yes, you will slow folks down and create more friction. And what we're excited about is we're not just a security tool, that you deploy, no one knows about, maybe it sends alerts from time to time. We're actually now sort of like a productivity tool. We have so many users going into our system, clicking on things, requesting access, getting credentials, connecting to data. That is really, really exciting to be, for us to be in that space. That's super, super cool. And I think this is a super interesting journey. This is an impressive project and implementation. And what do you have to say for people here listening to us that are thinking about, hey, this sounds like a good idea. I wish we had such a thing. It would really help me with a lot of areas. What are some of the tips you can share from your experience going through this process for these people who are considering embarking on it?
And I will reply in 1 minute. I just wanted to mention something that's very crucial. I think that from the developer experience, and it's also some kind of tip. In the end of the day, developers, in my opinion, or even any kind of individuals, hating to work with many different systems. For example, assume for a minute that you need to deal with 3 different access control systems in order to get the access to something. And in our case, basically, this is one of the huge improvements. And basically, this is the feedback that I got from one of our infra team leaders, that I have a Satori, it's some kind of magic ring for me. Some kind of, I became the Lord of the ring, the Lord of the all the data, that basically I'm using one tool to get access to them all. So it was crazy for them that I don't really need to think about how am I going to authenticate to Mongo or Postgres or Snowflake. Just have one of them in order to control them all. And regarding the question that you basically ask, the tip is basically do not afraid from performing the big changes. I think this is the very key. Many time when I'm speaking with my colleagues from another company, they're saying, oh, changing now the access control is going to be painful. It's going to be the crazy thing. I need to perform a lot of steps to change a lot of things in my company to engage. Don't afraid to perform the changes. Biggest changes starting with the small steps. And in the end of the day, everyone's supposed to be in the company responsible for the security. When you're basically engaging them, to your flow, it's become a success story.
That's a great tip. I also am a big believer in small steps towards some goal on the horizon, and it's really more important to me to make sure I'm on the right direction than how far ahead am I in reaching the goal. That's great. About the this slide that we have here, one tool to control them all. I remember one of the things I think you said in one of our conversations is that even forget about security for a second. In developers, engineers in a company like Gong and others, where you have many databases, you have many environments. There's no one place where you have just a simple list of all the databases that exist and you can connect to, right? Because you have your Mangos maybe in Atlas, and you have stuff on AWS, and maybe you have stuff in other places. Just a simple list of here are all the databases. I'm not even talking about how to get credentials. Maybe you put it in some password manager, but even that small step, it's that small thing. It looks like a small thing, but it's actually a huge thing for someone to just get a list of everything they have. You have to maintain it in a wiki. It's obviously not up to date, and so on. Just generating that list, I think, has in itself a lot of value in helping teams move faster.
I fully agree with you. I familiar with many startup companies who are only dealing with the visualization and the presentation of the data sources, tools, systems inside your environment, because it's some kind of management of all your environment. And here the developers getting everything in one place. Unification, it's, I think in our reality, it's the key. When you have a huge context switching, where you're spending a lot of developers' time, and their time, it's money. It's basically very key that they're going to have it in one single place.
I totally agree. That's very cool. Andre, any final words from you to the audience listening to us today?
First of all, I would like to thank you. You develop a really great solution that will become very useful personally for Gong and also for me, because nowadays I don't see myself without the Gong, and how I can move forward without you. And also, as I mentioned before, guys, big changes coming from the small steps, and the responsibility of the security. It's not only by the security teams or security leaders, CISOs, and other stuff. It's basically the responsibility of each one of the developers, team leaders, of everyone inside the company.
Awesome. And I really want to thank you, Andre, for taking the time to talk to us today. It's been a pleasure. For folks who are listening, watching us, if you want to get in touch, go to our website, www.satoricyber.com. Contact us, schedule a demo, or you can find me on LinkedIn and anywhere else. My name is Yoav Cohen. This was Andre Edelman. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, Andre.
Thank you very much. Bye, Yoav.